What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and today we're going to be giving the once over to Don't Breathe.
Just because he's blind don't mean he's insane, bro.
There will be spoilers.
Give it a good once-over.
Giving us the once-over.
Giving him the once-over.
Give me a once-over.
Down to give us the once-over.
For a routine once-over.
Once-over.
Oh, just once over lightly.
Don't Breathe came out in 2016, and it was directed by Fede Alvarez, who of course also did the amazing Evil Dead remake in 2013, as well as Alien Romulus. This is a home invasion movie that flips the script from all home invasion movies because it turns out that the homeowner ends up being a little bit more of a predator than anybody else. Now, if you know anything about me, then you know that my two favorite subgenres of horror are home invasion and anything that has to do with any sort of voyeurism. Oh boy, do I love it. I like the idea that I am getting invaded in my home by a movie, especially if I'm watching the movie at home, and that as a watcher of film, I am effectively a voyeur. I think it's a really interesting meta sort of look at the world. So I knew going into this film that I was probably gonna love it. In addition to that, this movie kind of follows the sort of like mid-2010s formula of Detroit-themed horror movies that are all having two words in their title. It Follows is the other one that comes to my head at the moment, but I know that there are more than that. I think it's a really weird pattern that was happening, and I like that a lot because, again, we get this interesting setting of Detroit that becomes something in and of itself. When most people think about Detroit, they think about a very downtrodden area, and of course, that is also coupled with the fact that Motown came out of there. Now, I always think that it is interesting to look at how music formulates a city, and Detroit is absolutely no exception because of that Motown connection. The idea is that when a city is so broken, creativity has to come out of it. So to set horror movies in that city is a statement in and of itself. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm predisposed to love this movie. That being said, I do have some criticisms to it. Before I start criticizing, though, I just want to take a moment to say how fucking amazing Stephen Lang is. Oh my god, do I love him. In Don't Breathe, he plays the homeowner who is blind. Obviously, that gives us another little hiccup to our normal home invasion tale, right? Can you guys tell that I'm fucking sick? I'm like literally running out of breath mid-sentence. Sorry, this new crispy microphone that is hopefully working now, picking up all of that nasal decongestion. Congestion? Not decongestion. I want it to be decongested. All right, we've gotten way far off. I might have had too much cold medicine today. Let's get into the movie. The opening shot of this film gives us an idea of the desolation that is to follow, and that is because we get to see Stephen Lang's character, the blind man, dragging what appears to be a dead girl across a street. Nobody's helping. Nobody's doing anything. Now, I am not necessarily a huge fan of spoilers for the end of the movie right up in the front, but it definitely gives me an idea about what this film is going to be like. The only thing that we know about this girl is that she's a blonde, and of course, immediately after the title card, we get to learn a little bit more about her because we are introduced to our three home invaders. We get to see them breaking into a home, pillaging, stealing, and pissing all over the place. So let's talk about these three and what their characters are like. Our protagonist is Rocky, played by Jane Levy. She has a horrible family, and she is kind of just trying to escape. So the reason that she wants to steal and break into homes and get money is so that she can go and take her little sister and escape to California. Then we have Alex. Alex is kind of like the goody two-shoes of the bunch.
We don't do cash. Above 10K, it's major larceny. That means 10 years if we get caught.
However, we find out that his father owns a security company, and that's how they're able to break into all of these homes. Alex frequently doesn't want to go on these little thieving sprees, but he ends up doing it anyway because it's clear that he has a little bit of a crush on Rocky.
If we get this money, I'm going away with you guys.
Before I get into the third character, I do just want to talk a little bit about one of my criticisms for this film, which is all of the damn exposition.
All this exposition is wearing me out.
Rocky tells this big long story about how a ladybug helped make her feel more comfortable when her mother used to lock her in the trunk of a car when she was a kid in order to punish her. And we know that that's going to come back to haunt us, right? Or haunt her, I guess. We know that's coming back. You don't have to tell me the dang story. Bleh, I don't care.
Thanks, exposition.
I want to see the home invasions. In addition to that, the way that we find out that Alex's father owns this security company, which is how they're all breaking into the houses, is that we get to see a like screensaver of his dad being the security guy. It's just too much for me. I don't need you to force feed me this sort of crap.
It's plot exposition. It has to go somewhere.
Our third home invader is Money. I like to refer to him as Cornrows for, obvious reasons. And he's kind of the badass of the bunch.
Yeah, well, it's time to pop that cherry, baby, because I'm gonna pop that shit like a fucking tunic.
He reminds me a lot of James Franco's character in Spring Breakers, actually.
I guess we'll see, Professor.
That is not a Detroit-themed movie, but it is a sort of 2 words in a title mid-2010s movie. There's a lot of them. He's supposed to be like the hardest of the bunch, although there is this weird shot of him just eating an apple, which feels very, if I was like robbing a house, I feel like the thing that I would be doing is not trying to make sure I don't get scurvy, but more power to you, dude. Anyway, after doing like a bunch of these like smaller little home invasions and robberies, they find out about the jackpot, a house that has $300,000 in cash inside of it, the blind man's house. They all think that this is their ticket out of there. Rocky especially is like, if I have that money, I can go to California, I can bring my sister there, and I'm never gonna have to do this ever again. Now let's just talk about that for 1 second, because $300,000 is not that much money, especially split 3 ways. So they're each going to get $100,000. That's great and all, but I feel like that does not make it so that they don't ever have to do a robbery ever again. Whatever. They find out that all this money is in the house because the blind man actually got a settlement because his daughter was killed in a car crash. In addition to that, they find out that the blind man is an ex-military guy, so we know he's going to be Stephen Langing all over the place, right? They talk about the fact that he's blind and like, is that something that we shouldn't do? Should we not rob this guy because he's blind? It's a pretty small throwaway kind of moment in the film. I would have liked to dive into that a little bit more because there is a moral crisis that could have really been discussed. But instead, we don't get to learn too much about these guys and their feels. And that is another one of my criticisms of this film, which is that I don't really care about Rocky, Alex, or Money. In particular, I don't care about Rocky. Rocky is supposed to come from like the train wreck of a family. She's supposed to be like white trash all the way through and through. But I feel like she's like too prissy for that. Not that she ever really does anything prissy. She just looks too put together. I want her to be disgusting. I want her missing teeth. I want just gross Rocky. And we don't get that at all. She's just like, I'm sad and I want to move with my sister and I love ladybugs. They make me feel safe.
Ladybug, fly away home.
So they go to the blind man's house after doing some surveillance and they try to break in. Now they realize as they are breaking in that he has his house totally guarded. Like every single thing is locked off and they have a very hard time getting in that place. I feel like that if I was a home invader and I wanted to rob somebody's house and it was that challenging, that I would be like, I wonder if something is weird with this place. Maybe I should just go try to do like a easier job. Doesn't it seem a little bit suspicious that this man who has a substantial amount of money and cash, but otherwise, doesn't it seem a little bit weird that like he's got all of this security? In addition to that, we do get the very convenient explanation of the fact that he is the only person who lives in this neighborhood.
Thanks, exposition.
So there's nobody else around. So this should be a really easy job for them, but obviously it's not gonna be. Now, the fact that he's the only person who still lives in this neighborhood, that does kind of make sense because this is Detroit, so we know that it's downtrodden. But it also helps explain that opening shot that we see where he is dragging Rocky in the street and nobody's doing anything. Little convenient, right? Anyway, so they get inside the blind man's house and Rocky's like, everybody take off your shoes. And I'm like, what? Why? Is it so that you can be quiet so that the blind man can't hear you? Because I feel like, and we will learn soon, that now the blind man can smell you. And in addition to that, I don't know, shoes are good. It's a little like Die Hard making fists with your toes, and we will get into the other Die Hard references later in the film, but it's just a weird, I didn't need it. I didn't need it. There's too much. I'm acting like I don't love this movie, but I fucking love this movie. Once they get into the house, things escalate super duper quickly. They can't get into the room where they think that the money is, and Money pulls out a gun. Alex is like, come on, dude. That means that now the homeowner has the legal right to shoot us if he finds us. Okay. Alex is pissed off about the gun, so he tries to leave. Unfortunately, the blind guy wakes up and realizes that something is wrong. He's got super senses.
My spidey sense is tingling.
The blind guy knows that money is there and starts kind of overtaking him, but he doesn't know how many other invaders there are. This is a terrifying scene. I mean, legitimately, Stephen Lang is so scary and huge and giant, and I feel like he could just take me down immediately. And I feel like these kids have no chance whatsoever, especially because they're all kind of weenies. This scuffle between the blind guy and Money ends with Money getting shot. And this was filmed in a really interesting way for me. We get a close-up, slow-mo, face-looking up sort of shot. And I think it's just really stunningly gorgeous. Rocky is watching this whole thing, and she starts silently sobbing. Now the blind guy has to deal with Money's body. So while that is happening and he's trying to take care of all of that mess, we get to see Rocky and Alex trying to meet up with each other again. While they meet up with each other, they happen to find the safe that has all the money in it. Yay, Rocky is so happy to be shoving that money into her. Money is a weird name to have as a character in this movie because, oh my God, I just got so sidetracked. All right, Rocky is excited about the money in the safe. Money, the character, is dead. There we go. I don't know what I'm doing. I really am never having cold medicine ever again before filming. Thanks, guys. I love that you're patient with me. This is followed by a very tense scene where we get to see Alex accidentally squeaking the floor and then the blind man aiming his gun at both Alex and Rocky before ultimately hearing a cell phone go off that's across the room and shooting at that. This is exactly one of the reasons that I love home invasion movies. This sort of tension, the tension that builds in this scene, it reminds me a ton of Straw Dogs. I don't know what's going to happen next, and at this point, while I'm watching, I also don't know who the good guys and the bad guys are. The blind man seems extremely innocent, albeit he seems a little bit intense, but he seems relatively innocent at this point in the film. And the kids seem like fucking assholes. Alex and Rocky end up escaping into the basement. It is cool that we get to see the different levels of the house. So they start out on the main level, they go in the basement, later they're on the second floor of the house, and it really helps add to the setting of where I am. I get the layout of this place. If you had a home invasion movie that didn't do that, it would not function at all because I need to feel like I'm being invaded. I want to be in the house with them. That's what makes me terrified. That's what brings on that tension. And this movie does an incredibly successful job of that. Anyway, as promised, the blind guy, while Alex and Rocky are in the basement, ends up smelling the shoes. He's got those super senses, and he feels that there are 3 pairs of shoes. He runs over to his safe. He realizes that his money is gone, and he goes into a blind rage. You guys fucking hate me, don't you? This is where the movie really takes a left turn. I told you this one flips the script because in the basement, Rocky and Alex discover a chained girl. Alex is like, let's get the heck out of here. We're not dealing with that. But Rocky's like, no, we gotta help this girl. She's clearly been kidnapped. And the girl holds up a little newspaper because again, with the damn exposition, I don't need you to force feed me.
Just a bucket load of exposition?
Stop telling me the plot. Just invade the house. This newspaper article implies that she was the girl that killed the blind man's daughter and that she was let off of those charges. So she was found innocent of vehicular manslaughter, I believe. This is what the newspaper says. I don't know. If I'm wrong, it's right here, right now. You tell me. So upon Rocky's insistence, they try to get her out. And there is a second safe in the basement. For some reason, it has the same code as the safe that had all the money in it. Why not just have one safe at that point? But regardless, that second safe in the basement, they are able to get into it because they know the code of the upstairs safe, and they end up finding the keys and they release this kidnapped girl. The 3 of them go off to leave, but the blind guy is right on their trail and he ends up shooting Alex in the ear and, the tied up kidnapped girl gets very murked in this situation here. I do also think it's actually really cool. So again, we talked about how the neighborhood is supposed to be desolate and completely barren. And we get to see exterior shots of the house during this sequence where we can see the gunshots going off. Now, we know nobody is there to hear it because we know that the neighborhood is completely empty. But I think it's a really cool way to, again, remind us we are trapped in this house with these people. And now we know that the blind man has some secrets of his own because he has a kidnapped girl in his basement. Woo. The blind man, when he realizes that he killed his kidnapped victim, he starts crying about it. And you're like, why do you care so much? We're going to find out why. But before we find out why, we have to deal with Rocky and Alex because they are still on the loose. So the blind guy cuts the lights in the whole house so that they are as disadvantaged as him. However, he's used to being blind and they are not. In other words, the blind guy has the advantage now.
Advantage burns.
Every single shot here is huge. The cinematography works extremely well for me. I know that some people don't like the I'm in a dark room sort of cinematography, but it functions well in this movie, dang it. It does. Tell me why it doesn't, because I don't believe you. Every single shot that rings out not only gives us that audio cue, but it's also blinding for us to look at. He ends up capturing Alex and puts the gun to his head and no bullets left. I like that this movie actually seems to be counting bullets. I tried my darndest to count the bullets, and I believe that there was never a time that the gun had more bullets than it should have had. Those are not the right words. You guys know what I'm trying to say, right? I think they done good. I think they done very good. In addition to that, though, when he puts the barrel onto Alex's head, you hear like a little sizzle on the skin, which is a really interesting taste of realism. Because, the barrel would be very hot from getting shot a whole bunch. Alex manages to escape the situation by knocking over a shelf, which is incredible because I just feel like Stephen Lang could overpower this little twerp, no problem whatsoever. But regardless, Alex escapes, he gets upstairs, and he discovers the Rottweiler. Now, I have not mentioned the Rottweiler at all, and that is because the Rottweiler is a relatively small character. This dog is the blind guy's dog, and he is a beast. We got Cujo running around up in this bitch. He's adorable. I really like this dog. He's a great dog actor. But he doesn't play a huge important role except for the fact that any time that they are trying to escape, the dog is chasing them in addition to Stephen Lang chasing them. Spooky. So Alex and Rocky make it up to the second floor. They are getting chased by the dog, and Rocky climbs into the ducks a la John McClane and, Die Hard. I told you there'd be another dang Die Hard reference. Not only does Rocky get into the vents, though, but the dog gets in there, too. It is pretty cute. I kind of like it. She ends up falling down pretty drastically. And meanwhile, Alex is having troubles of his own because he ends up falling on top of a glass window, which then the blind guy later shoots out so that he falls back into the house. And boy, at this point in the movie, am I like, whoa, this is a giant house. Where are these people and why is it so big? Holy cow. So Alex is now in the house getting chased, and Alex tries to trick him, but the blind guy ends up catching him and doing some crazy head smashes. These are hard to watch. I don't usually get the I need to turn away during a horror or a thriller sort of movie, but I had a hard time watching those suckers. It is just entirely a brutal scene, and it ends up with Alex getting impaled with shears, hedge trimmers. I don't know, the big scissor things that, oh my God, these things. Now, we assume that Alex is dead. It turns out that he might be God because he just keeps coming back again and again. Stephen Lang can't get him. But meanwhile, Rocky is waking up after falling in the vent. And unfortunately, the blind guy is now, chasing after her. And he grabs her and punches her and chokes her. And it appears that she's dead as well. And don't forget that opening shot of the film. Now we get to see him dragging her down the street. The thing that makes this movie more interesting than your average home invasion film is that I really truly don't know who to root for. Almost always the person whose house is being invaded is the person that is innocent. They are just living their life and now all of a sudden somebody is coming and fucking with them. But the blind guy had a hostage for not a great reason. So who are the good guys? The film kind of leads you to wanting to root for Rocky and Alex at this point, but again, I feel so dissociated from their characters that I never really end up doing that. So Rocky, who we kind of think is dead at this point, at least the beginning of the film made us think that she was dead, she ends up waking up in the basement in the chained hostage area. She's there now. It looks pretty cool. It kind of looks like a little like insane asylum with couch cushions all over the walls. I like the design of that room. And we get to see the blind guy really having a conversation and talking for the first time. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue. He doesn't need to. He's terrifying. He tells a story all about how rich girls don't go to jail, and Rocky's response to that is like, none of this is going to bring your daughter back. But the blind guy, he counters that with, well, it was only fair that, she took away my child, so she was going to give me a new one. And this is where we get real wacky, because it turns out that the kidnapped lady was pregnant with the blind guy's new baby.
You have to be held accountable.
You have to be held accountable. Okay, so I already mentioned Alex is fucking invincible. He is God.
Why won't he die?
So he gets up and he grabs a sledgehammer, tricks the dog, and then, goes to try to save Rocky because he loves her. You know what, actually, let's back up for just a moment here. The kidnap victim. Presumably people were like, hey, she's missing. Don't you think that the cops would have investigated the person who probably hates her the most, aka the blind guy, since she killed his kid? How did they not find her, immediately? It's a little sus, no? I mean, we don't need the movie to make sense. We're going to suspend our disbelief and we're just going to enjoy the brutalness. Yes.
He's suspended in disbelief.
Anyway, so the blind guy is like, well, listen, you took kidnapped victim girl from me, so now you're gonna be baby mama. Also, how does he know that she's ovulating? I hope she's feeling fertile. Rocky ends up praying to God, and there is a very interesting monologue that the blind guy gives that I think is really quite lovely.
There's nothing a man cannot do once he accepts the fact that there is no God.
He does want to make clear, however, that he never forced himself upon the hostage. So, he gets a scissors and a turkey baster. He uses the scissors to cut a hole in Rocky's pants and,
Get your commemorative turkey basters!
Let me tell you, there is, too much fluid in that turkey baster. Why is there so much? That's not a normal amount, right? It's dripping and it is gross and ew. Also, I feel like the baster keeps getting more and more full. So is he just taking a break, having a little bit more fun? You don't need that much to, I think it only takes one sperm to make a baby, I feel like. Whatever. Again, suspend the disbelief. Okay, back to the fact that Alex has been amazing and he somehow can survive anything.
You're alive!
He ends up getting Rocky released, and Rocky is like, I'm gonna get you, blind guy. So she takes that baster and puts it right in his mouth, and then she goes, how does that taste?
How's that taste?
Yeah. Get him with his own medicine. This is the first time that we see Stephen Lang's character as being weak. He is cowering in a corner and he's trying to buy their silence. He's like, you have the money, you have everything that you want, just leave me alone at this point. So the two of them do end up leaving. However, the blind guy comes and shoots Alex. But will he survive this time? No, I don't believe that he does. I think he's finally gone. Rocky runs out into the street and we get this breathing soundtrack and slow-mo video. And the blind guy sicks the dog on her. So she runs and she gets into the car that they originally arrived in. And if you didn't already think that this might possibly be the same universe as It Follows, this shot should convince you that it is. This looks like it is straight out of It Follows to me. I swear to God, I don't know that I would be able to immediately identify what movie it was if you showed me this still. So now Rocky is trapped in the car. The Rottweiler is right outside the car. She can't get out. And she realizes she doesn't have the keys to the car. So, oh no, she can't get anywhere. But she really wants to escape because the blind guy is coming and he's spooky as fuck. So she is like, fuck, what am I going to do? She starts searching around and she has to go into the trunk of the car. Thank you, exposition.
Thanks, exposition.
From the beginning of the movie. I just couldn't wait for you to come back. I was really looking forward to it, and there you are. While she's looking for stuff and trying to get in the trunk, though, we do realize that her pants have regenerative qualities because there's no hole in the crotchal area where the scissors made that snip for the turkey baster to go. So I was a little disappointed by that. Maybe a continuity error, I guess we could call it. The blind guy ends up dragging her back to the house. They have like their final battle. He gets disoriented by the fact that the alarm is getting set off, which is weird because it's his house. Shouldn't he know how to set off the alarm or turn off the alarm rather? But whatever, I guess he doesn't. And so he's disoriented enough that she is able to run, all while the cops are coming for all the stuff, probably because the alarm is going off. But she manages to escape, and we cut to her in the airport with her little sister heading to California. While they're in the airport, she sees a news story about the fact that this robbery happened and that there were only 2 invaders, both of whom are dead because the blind guy killed them, and also that nothing was taken. So she now knows that she is home free, and that's the end of the film. I love it, you guys. I literally love this movie. It is probably up there in my favorite home invasion movies. I think it's really interesting to put our innocent victims into question at all times. There is no time in this movie that I know who to root for. I like it when there's no delineation between good and evil because all of us have some level of good and some level of evil within ourselves. This movie is quick-paced and it is interesting, and the tension builds in all of the ways that I need a home invasion movie to build. In addition to that, just gimme more Stephen Lang. I love it so much. It's so great. I'll also say that Don't Breathe reminds me a lot of another home invasion movie that I absolutely love, which is Lady in a Cage. Lady in a Cage came out in the early 1960s, and it's actually one of James Caan's first films. If it isn't his first film, super young James Caan. Highly recommend it for that alone. But in addition to that, the thing that makes it very similar to Don't Breathe is that the woman in that movie whose home is being invaded, she is extremely disadvantaged. She's a little old lady who is trapped in an elevator when hooligans come and invade her house. In the same way, Stephen Lang's character is extremely disadvantaged because he's a blind man. The idea of having a victim already be trapped by either something physical or by a limitation such as blindness means that that person is even more disadvantaged than they already would be. And that really, truly is what all of our biggest fears are, right? When I'm helpless, I don't want to be taken advantage of further. Now I just want to go watch Lady in a Cage, but I can't because it's nighttime and I get spooked at nighttime, which means no scary movies for me at this hour. Plus the cold medicine is probably going to put me to sleep in like 5 minutes. So with all of that being said, I love this movie. I would give this easily a 6 out of 7 thumbs up. It rules. If I liked the trio of home invaders a little bit more, or if I had at least a little bit more like feels towards them, maybe not necessarily liked, but like if I felt some sort of emotion towards them, I might even give this a 7 out of 7 thumbs up because again, it just is a great movie. Plus, I know I've already said it like 3 times, but I can't say enough good things about Stephen Lang. What do you guys think? What are some of your favorite home invasion movies? I know that I mentioned both Straw Dogs and Lady in a Cage, but there are so many good ones. So let me know what else I should be checking out. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me and checking out my reviews. And I can't wait for the next one. So I'll see y'all soon. Bye.